I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, November the 30th, brought to you in part by Vitalix. Vitalix has been delivering the highest value tub for your feed dollar, and that has been their mission for over 30 years. Stay tuned for some exciting stuff about Vitalix. They're going to be giving away free tubs in the new year. Get the blue tub, your cows will love you. Go to Vitalix.com. Anything but the board, and it's just nice that the board, and that's the title of the report, is not the big news, but after the big sell-off on Friday and on Monday, and then coming back up, just the extreme volatility on Tuesday. On Wednesday, the board was moderately higher, and is not the big story, but that's the story, that it's not the big story. But you know, people are looking at the markets, and they've seen the cash markets dump since the market has been so volatile, and that's really been for the last 3 weeks or more. And a lot of people are looking and seeing that your feeder weights have fallen much harder than your calf weights, and being that the calves are priced so much higher, you would think that the sell-off, the dollars down, would be more on the calves than it is on the bigger feeders, and a lot of those are calves too, but that's not really the complexion of the market right now. And why is that? Well, our feedlots are relatively full, and so we've had a big fall run already, and so there's not as much demand for the bigger feeder cattle. And then also the lighter cattle, there's a lot of demand for them because we have a lot of winter forage. A lot of wheat pasture in the southern plains. Had those big rains here a few weeks ago in Oklahoma, and it was just right to really spark that wheat. And that wheat is some really cheap weight gain. Plus, on those lighter weights, you have so much more time with cheaper feed to cheapen those cattle up. And also, you look out at the LRPs, and you can lock those in, and it just it gives you more hope for a profit on those lighter weight cattle. And of course, on your lighter weight cattle, you have so many more options, and I'm not talking about you know, on your futures, your puts and calls, but I'm talking about you just have options at some point during the cycle of those cattle. If you get them bought light, even though they're a higher price per pound, the dollars per head are less, and you have options in there to turn a profit on those cattle somewhere down the line. And those of us that are in the industry, we know how tight the numbers are. Our calf crop is so much smaller than it's been in the past. I've mentioned several times on here that we didn't hear any of our big calf buyers, feeder buyers, talking this fall during October especially, and so far up through November, about not being able to find enough trucks to haul those cattle off. And that has been a big issue for the last several years. Because coming out of COVID, a lot of truckers went to hauling reefer trailers and things like that, and there just weren't as many bull haulers around. But with the lighter calf crop and the smaller numbers around, there just hasn't been a big problem finding trucks for the cattle this year. And it's been fairly well advertised, but I don't think people realize how big it is that the conception rate on these cows out in the northern plains. I'm talking about Montana, South Dakota, Wyoming, North Dakota, places like that. The conception rate on the cows that they've just pregged after they sold their calves off is so much less than what normal. Normally you'd see a 10% open cows, and we're seeing a lot of producers talking about 30% and even more open cows. And a lot of people are juggling around the reasons that is, but the fact of the matter is it's just going to be a lot smaller calf crop coming up next year than we had this year, and you know, also because we've sold off so many of the cows. But we have started seeing some signs of herd rebuilding just this month, really. Since the 1st of November, at least I'm seeing a lot more of your high quality calves, your big strings of calves coming in, having a lot fewer heifers selling than what we saw on the steers. And with the sell-off, we saw that ramped up a little bit more because they weren't bringing the extreme high prices, so a lot of producers thought they could afford to maybe keep back a few more heifers than they might have when we saw the extreme high prices a month or so ago. But it's the last day of the month. It's time to hand out the Punchy Pick winners, which is really only one grand prize winner, but going to be a lot of honorable mentions here. And we start off with the Kids Corral. We get a lot of pictures coming in for the Punchy Pick that are just cute pictures of their kids, that's great. We love to look at those too. They're not exactly punchy, a lot of them, but we want to give them some credit here. And starting out on the Kids Corral, we've got Rowdy and Pinocchio. And that's an awfully cute picture right there. And it was sent in by Robin Gunther from Schulenburg, Texas. So credit for them for getting a mention on the Feeder Flash. Next up in the Kids Corral is Mile 8, and Someone is Getting Bored. Jana Beeman's daughter, Georgia, was pushing these stalkers to grass, spring grass in the Kansas Flint Hills there, and was getting kind of bored and showing off some of her trick riding there as they were trailing those stalkers to grass. But I thought that was a pretty cute picture there. That was sent in by Greg Davis. The third and last of our Kids Corral is 8-year-old Will Spear dragging his first calf to the fire there in southern Iowa, and a proud dad sent that in, Skylar Spear, in southern Iowa, so we want to give those credit too. Now for our Punchy Picks. Third place in the Punchy Pick is this one entitled, I Spring Into Action and My Wife Gets Her Phone Out. So one tipped over in the tank there, and the dad sprung to action there and grabbed got his tractor and his chain and lifted that heifer out of that tank there. And he did mention that after he got her out and laid her down on the ground, she laid there for about 10 minutes and then rolled over and got up and walked off quietly. So all is good there. It doesn't look as bad as what the picture really shows, but that was sent in by Frank Carvelli. So thanks for that picture. That was third place. Second place comes into, this is kind of an exciting picture here. Cow down in the ditch, and Jackie came running with the Ranger and the chainsaw still in her PJs and muck boots. So a little bit of embarrassment for Jackie, but apparently they got the cow out of the ditch and got her headed back home. That was sent in by Bill Huber. But the winner of the grand prize of the Punchy Pick, they're going to get all the cool swag from Beaver Feed Company in Beaver, Oklahoma, get a bunch of neat stuff from Beaver County Stockyards, and then of course the best part of the grand prize is the whole case of Therapiece, that revolutionary product that is calming calves down, getting them on feed, lessening the trouble you have with the weaning calves and the balling and the walking the fences and all that kind of thing, and basically just calms any cattle down. But that is trailing the herd in the Montana mountains. And look at this beautiful picture that was sent in, and I think it's pretty punchy there. It belongs on a postcard. See the steam rising off of those cattle there in that beautiful backdrop, but that was sent in by Skip Holmes, who's been a long-time Feeder Flash gang member there. So we thank that to him. He'll be getting that box full of prizes there as the grand prize winner of the Punchy Pick contest. Don't forget to send in your Punchy Picks. Get started for next month's contest. Send your picks to punchy@nationalbeefwire.com. Got a big sale coming up in Green City, Missouri at Green City Livestock Marketing coming up this Saturday, December the 2nd at 1 o'clock p.m. It's the second annual Brinkley Angus Bred Heifer Sale, and that is top quality cattle in north central Missouri. They've got a couple other large consignments, over 100 head of AI fancy bred heifers, be Angus with Keneally genetics, AI to them, and then cleaned up with Brinkley bulls. But if you're looking for some fancy Angus bred heifers, get on to that sale at Green City Livestock Marketing this Saturday at 1 o'clock p.m. It's going to be on DVAuction. Call in early to the sale barn office there and get approved to bid on that sale. Let's talk about your board, which did not make the biggest news, and we're glad of that. December live cattle futures up a quarter at 171.90. February up 65 cents at 173.47. Your back months were down a nickel, and that was the farthest out contract, which is April of 25. And then the rest were all up and up as much as $1.05. January feeder cattle up 115 at 222.20. March up 77 cents at 224.27. Back months on feeder cattle up 2 cents to up 92 cents. Look at your grains. December corn down 1 3/4 cents a bushel at 449 3/4. January beans up a half cent at 13.47. And Kansas City hard red winter wheat for December up big again for the second day in a row. Been up 50 cents here in the last two sessions, but up 27 cents on Wednesday, closing at 6.40 a bushel. Talk about your fat cattle trade. We had a little bit more trade at that disappointing price, and we hate that that's set the market, but it absolutely has set the market, and still a pretty good basis there for your hedged feeders. But Iowa sold 300 head, and they sold 5,100 head for the week. Your price on Wednesday was 175 live. Nebraska 2,900 head sold, and all at 175 there on Wednesday. Kansas sold 900 head on Wednesday. They sold 3,800 for the week, and your live price from 174 to 175. Texas another 300 is all on Wednesday. 5,100 for the week so far, 174 to 175. Did have a fat cattle auction in Worthing, South Dakota at Sioux Falls Regional Livestock. They had 1,300 slaughter cattle. The fat steers and heifers are roughly $3 to $6 lower. Conventional type selling from 173 up to 177.50 through the ring, with program non-implanted and drug-free cattle as high as 183, which is a hell of a lot better than we're getting out in the country there. Box beef cutout values lower again. Can't seem to get a rally going in the boxes. Choice cuts on Wednesday afternoon down 114 at 297.03. Selects down 226 at 264.09. Your slaughter up through the first 3 days of the week, 373,000. They're going to have a bigger week this week. Like we expected, they're going to have to do some Saturday slaughter, and we're not sure about that yet. But that 373,000 through the first 3 days of the week, 5,000 less than this point last week, 8,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Livestock Risk Services, that's Dakota Moss there in Oklahoma City, and several agents that work with him. They are your LRP specialists, and they also specialize in the PRF lack of rainfall policies, which you need to get in right away. Deadline on that coming up hard and fast, so you better get on the phone and get to them if you want to lock in your lack of rainfall policies there. And get more information, go to livestockriskservices.com. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DVAuction, based on the 800-pound cash auction steer up through the middle 12 states, up through Wednesday's auction, sitting at 223.56. That was up after the big sell-off there with the board crashing, but up on Wednesday, up 154. CME cash feeder cattle index, of course, it's always running about a day and a half behind, and it fell too, just as much as we expected it to, with the latest available at 222.37. Talk about, I'm coming to you from Bethany, Missouri, not far from old stomping grounds in northwest Missouri, but I got to have supper with my good friend Doug Willett. Had a good visit with some northeastern Iowa farmer feeders on Wednesday morning, and got to tour around some of their monoslope barns there, and that was fun for me to get to see that. I always enjoy visiting with the farmer feeders there and talking about the industry. But talk about your big sales on Wednesday. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, 7,300 head for the two-day sale compared to 2 weeks ago, because they were off Thanksgiving week. Feeder steers, $5 to $8 higher. Feeder heifers, $3 to $8 lower. widening the steer heifer discount for those weaned calves just right to turn out on the wheat, selling steady to $3 higher. Unweaned calves selling $3 to $6 lower. I'm going to give you a quote on some lightweight Wheaties there, some lightweight wheat steers there in El Reno. Normally they sell all the calves on Tuesday and just feeders on Wednesday. After some of the producers saw how well those calves sold on Tuesday, they went ahead and brought some calves in on Wednesday, and they weren't going to turn them down, of course. 116 426 pound wheat munchers there, steer calves, bring $3.40 a pound in central Oklahoma. How about Sidney, Montana Livestock Market Center there? They sold 54 heifers, weighed 548 at $276. Another individual quote, Coffeyville Stockyards, the North Barn. Of course, they've got the North and South. This is the North Barn in Coffeyville, Kansas. They sold 93 mixed steers, weighed 640 at $268.75. And now another one of those weaned calf sales down in Texas, which we need to see more of those, just not helping some of those producers down there have a reason to wean and vaccinate their calves. But how about Navasota, Texas, their weaned calf sale? These are 1.5 Okie crossbred heifers, and they be commingled, put together there, but done right and pretty nice kind of deal, and a big jag of them. 210 heifers, weighed 441 in Navasota, Texas, bring 276. That's nothing to sneeze at, guys. But how about the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday? Your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Stockman's Livestock Market, Yankton, South Dakota, at their feeder sale. They sold 235 steers, weighed 1,024 pounds at $224.25. That's your feeder flash for Thursday.